So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the PA Forum Zoom series. This one is all about communication and positive communication within the workplace. I'm very, very pleased to introduce Louise Nuttall, who is from BCS, and she has joined us today. As I met Louise a couple of weeks ago on a Zoom session with Mark and Rachel Patch from Fairway Learning. And she was this burst of energy that came onto the screen, lots of yellow energy, as we call it. She was talking about all the fantastic things that she's done to implement communication in the business. She's head of HR, and she's prepared some slides for us today. What I was hoping you'd do, if possible, before the session starts, is can you go into the chat box, and the chat box can't be seen by anybody apart from us on the call. Can you just let us know if you were to rate the communication throughout this process that you've had from the business-wide communication, 1 being not great and 10 being amazing, what would you rate your business? And again, nobody can see this, so if you can just enter that into the chat box, we'd be really interested just to have a look. Okay, wow. So we've got some quite high numbers there. 8s, 9s, 10, 9.5, 7s. That's great. So, okay, so that's a good start. So I'm going to hand over to Louise, and she's going to kindly talk us through what you've been doing at BCS. So thank you, Louise.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me, really. Hopefully, I'm just about to share my screen. Can you see that all?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect, wonderful. Okay, so I think I'm just going to kind of share what we've been doing. Clearly, it's not a one-size-fits-all. All your different organisations will be set up in different ways. So all I'm doing is sharing what I've found, what we've done, what we found has worked, and maybe some tips and points really in terms of what you could do in your business. So maybe you're at an 8 and you want to push it to a 10. There may be some few pieces of nuggets in there that you haven't thought of that you may want to consider. So it's kind of, I don't have all the answers. I never have. All I can share is what I've done in the business and what we've worked, what's worked well for us. So in terms of the kind of agenda really for today. So just really a very quick one about who BCS is, if people haven't heard of BCS, what our challenges were, kind of what we've done, what we've achieved during this very short space of time, what I've observed or what I've learned as a result of that, a little bit about returning to the office and the communications that you potentially do, because of course we are now starting to return to the office, so things to consider about reassuring your staff, and any kind of key points that I've noticed or observed, or kind of want to share my benefit of my limited knowledge with yourselves. And then at the end we've put a Q&A session, and also I think it's really useful for those particularly that have scored a 10 out of 10 or even 8 and 9. There are, I'm sure, things that other people are doing that we can share and learn from each other. So this is a fully immersive interactive session. Feel free to engage, raise anything in terms of the chat box with Dan, and he can obviously pick that up. But if you've got any questions throughout the presentation, then please by all means shout. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions you've got at the end. So just a very, very quick one in terms of who BCS is. So we're the Chartered Institute for I.T. Our purpose is to make IT good for society. So we are a membership organisation. We've got over 68,000 members, and that's spread across the world. We have quite a large contingent in Sri Lanka and Mauritius, as well as the UK. We've been operating for just over 60 years. So we've been here for a little while. We are a registered charity, but we're also a separate private limited company. So that has some different challenges in terms of our culture and our people. And we're also an awarding body. We've got qualifications, we've got courseware, we've got apprenticeships and endpoint assessments. So we are kind of a fully immersive organisation with all the different departments that you would expect: marketing, finance, product, IT, you name it, we've got it really. So in terms of what we do overarching, so as an IT, we provide careers and provide support for pathways. We look at sharing our expertise, knowledge sharing and collaboration. We put a huge investment in terms of education. So the actual IT computer science course that they're teaching at schools, we helped develop that. And we're also putting investment into actually bringing in training teachers to then teach IT at schools. We're also part of a massive bid from the government. So they've put in £84 million, and we're part of a consortium between STEM Learning and Raspberry Pi to try and increase the amount of computing skills in education for our children. The other thing we also do is influence policy and practices. So we look at speaking to government, influencing the education sector. And of course, the final thing and really important is about driving the standards and the professionalism in all areas of IT. So in terms of kind of putting it into context, think of what CIPD do for HR, we basically do for IT, and the same with AAT for finance, for example. So very similar in terms of what we do. So in terms of just the makeup of our organisation, so we've got about 250 staff. 90% of our staff work in Swindon, so sunny old Swindon in Wiltshire, and then we've got a small contingent of people in Bedford, Sri Lanka and London. So majority of our staff all work in an office of some kind, and we made the decision to close our offices before the government announced. So there are things that we considered. So we've had to make sure that all of our IT and tech were working. We've got a group email chat out. So we've got everyone's mobile phones. We had to make sure all our mobile phone numbers. So if we did a group all staff email out to our personal mobiles, that worked. So we did that before we closed down. We also made sure that all of our team were set up to work from home and all they had the equipment that they needed. So that all happened very quickly within the space of 24, 48 hours. So we turned things around really, really quickly. So in terms of our challenges, I think our challenges are very similar to others. So one is obviously working from a different location. Very few people have ever worked from home. Historically, it had been, heads of departments, senior people that were allowed, and it was almost seen as a perk rather than an actual, well, I need to work from home and I can. So they weren't set up, they had no workstations, they had no equipment. So we basically said, literally, just take your stuff off your desk, take it home with you and set yourself up at home. So literally, it was like the Mary Celeste at the end. Everyone's PCs and things were going, all over the place. So that was quite interesting to see people literally carting their chairs and their monitors out to their cars. Sort of the last day we decided to pack up. So that was all good fun. In terms of technology, so we are quite lucky. We've got Microsoft Surfaces that we use. And we use Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. Now, we moved to SharePoint and Teams about a year ago, and thank goodness that we did, because otherwise I don't think we would have been able to cope. So, but the technology is still new to us, so we're still learning every day about, the other day I learned about how we could do whiteboard and how we could do polls on Microsoft Teams. So we're learning every day. Every day is a school day for us, so we're always learning how to use our technology at its best. And we also have so many different softwares. So, we've got, a HR system and a payroll system and a members system. So we've got so many systems, some of which are cloud-based, which are great because all you need is internet access. But some are server-based, which means if you're not in the building, you can't access the data that you need. So that was a bit of a challenge for our IT team, but, we managed to get through that. The next thing is culture. So we've operated predominantly on a face-to-face basis. So a lot of our things happen through having meetings, and sometimes we have meetings about meetings, and they're always face-to-face. So that was always a bit of a challenge, moving from kind of face-to-face to virtual. Communication has been a bit sporadic, but it really does depend on the manager that you are in the department. So if your manager is particularly good, communication usually is fantastic and you usually know what's happening in the business. So it's been variable, shall we say, dependent on the quality of the manager that you've got. So we had to really think about how we do and communicate with our staff. And then also, a new home life. So this is not about, and I keep on saying to people, it's not people working from home. You are working in a different location that just so happens to be your home during a pandemic. That's not working from home, because usually when you're working from home, you're set up at home, you don't have any distractions, and now you've got people that are furloughed, you've got kids running around, and you've got pets and dogs and cats and everything. So, it's a new home life and a new working situation. So let's put that into context. We're not working from home. And then the next bit is really about the workloads and volumes. So we've got a team that we're dealing with post. So clearly post didn't happen. We were waiting for exam packs to come back from Sri Lanka and Mauritius, and it just didn't happen. So we had people that unfortunately we had to furlough because there was just no work. So at the moment we've got about 40 people out of our 250 that are furloughed. So a large proportion of our staff are working and are working quite successfully, but unfortunately we've had to furlough some staff because the work wasn't there. The other challenge I think you might be aware of is the government updates, because you love the government updates because they come through thick and fast every single day. I don't know if you are, but I am on their mail out and I get about 30 or 40 emails every day. Not to mention when I think I've got furlough absolutely nailed, they decide to change the scheme. So, you know, it's always keeping up to date with what the government decide is a really good idea, which actually the furlough scheme is a fantastic idea and it's really helping businesses out. It's just about, from a HR perspective, how you then change what they're suggesting to, well, how does that work in practice? So that's always a challenge because we're always learning and we're always changing and we're always evolving and we're trying to interpret. It's all new for everyone. So that's a challenge. And on top of all of that, we decided that we're going to move buildings. So way before COVID, we decided that we would move buildings not very far away, very close, still in Swindon. But we had to be out of the building by the end of May. So that was quite challenging, packing up an office using social distancing measures whilst still adhering to lockdown. So that was another massive challenge of BCS. So in terms of what we did, so I focused on two areas really. One is comms and one is support. So the first thing was comms. So I don't know whether some of you have it in place, but we've got a business continuity. So our incident command team, we call it. Basically, when something really bad happens and you all need to get together and you need to have a chat about what's happening, this is what our incident command team is set up to do. So we've got a WhatsApp group that we share things and updates, etc. And we meet. We initially started meeting every other day because there were so many things happening, all a very, very quick succession that we had to work out what that meant for us as a business. So we met on a regular basis and we then emailed out the whole of the organisation what we were doing. So they knew, for example, we had made a decision to shut the office. This is what's going to happen. These are the impacts in terms of people's roles. This is what we think how it's going to work. And it's providing updates and reassurances for people, and people really like that. The regular all staff comms, that worked really well. We also decided to add a newsletter, so it's something we've never done before, and certainly not in my time at BCS. So over the 6.5 years at BCS, we've never done anything like that. So we very, very quickly, within the space of a couple of weeks, we thought, let's set up a newsletter. And that was a way of sharing what each individual businesses were doing at any given point in time. So it was only a couple of paragraphs per section, but it also gave this is what we're doing, guys. This is our challenges over the last couple of weeks. This is what we're working on, etc. So it basically gave a little bit of the water cooler chat about different departments and how things are going. We also use that newsletter to celebrate success. So we've got a reward scheme called BCS Stars. So we announced who our stars were on that month. And we also celebrated things like people obtaining qualifications, people getting engaged, all of those types of things. So the people aspect side of things, about celebrating success that aren't necessarily related to the business, but people want to know. So we included it on there. And we also decided, we've again never done anything like this before, we called it Coffee Chat Comms. So bit of a mouthful, but we recorded videos between our exec team. So we're starting off with the exec team, just having 1 or 2 people on a call, pretty much like this, a Zoom call. We recorded and we then made it available to staff. It was only 10 to 15 minutes. We talked about their particular areas, their own personal challenges, what they're working on. And we basically released 1 or 2 every single week to the rest of the business. And that's gone down really, really well. At the moment, the viewings are tailed off a little bit. So what we've decided is rather than release them very, very frequently, we're kind of going to release them every couple of weeks now. So I'm lined up to do one probably in the near future to talk about HR and people, what we're doing. So that'll be good fun. The next thing I decided to do was concentrate on our furloughed staff. Clearly, I've just said we've furloughed about 40 people, so that's a large portion of our population. So I was thinking about what we can do to keep our staff engaged. So what I've decided to do every single Monday is send them an email. So an email personally from me that basically summarises what we're doing as a business on a weekly basis. So it's things like how the office move is going, if there's the newsletter that we need to be released, what's the latest video or the latest updates. So people were always appraised of what was happening on a weekly basis around the business. Excuse me, I need a drink. I'm talking so fast, sorry, I'm really
No, it's great.
So the other thing that we want to do is update people about the office move. So normally you'd get to pack up and say goodbye, and we'd normally have a kind of goodbye party with everyone in the office. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to do that. So we're closing the office, pack up your stuff and get out, basically, is pretty much what we said in the nicest way. So we're kind of having a virtual goodbye to the old office. So we're sharing memories, we're sharing photographs, we're just kind of reminiscing about the old building that we're going to miss, because people are literally packed up, have left the old office and will eventually go into a brand new office. So we had to help with people's saying goodbye. So that's what we've kind of set up as well. In terms of support, so we've done a huge amount of support in terms of our staff and our managers. So one of the things is very quickly, HR turned around guidance for staff and managers about furlough. So that talked about the initial conversation you need to have with your staff, saying it's not performance related, it's with the fact that the work that you're doing that isn't there anymore. And right now it makes sense to place you on furlough. So it's about sending some guidance to managers to help having that conversation, because I think people will take it very personally, and it's not personal, it's the fact that the work isn't there. We then send guidance about what to do during furlough, so about the length of time and how often they should communicate with their staff members. But then we also sent emails about to their staff members about making sure you had a handover, making sure your out of office is on, the kind of practical solutions in terms of how furlough affects people. So that was the first thing we did. We also set a session up for managers about how to manage their team remotely. So that was a virtual session. We put that on very, very quickly with a learning consultant that we are in partnership with. And we also set up staff sessions about how to work in a different location. So as I mentioned previously, there's lots of team members that have never worked from home before, and it's completely new to them. So it's about how do you deal with that? And what do you need to consider? What measures do you need to put in place that works for you, that keeps you as best as you can be thriving at work? We're just about to set up a lunchtime session on resilience, so that's going on next week. So we're inviting as many people as we can for that. And we also launched what we call the Parent Hub. So we are appreciative of the fact that a lot of our employees are also parents. And so we basically took a huge amount of resources from various different places and put them on a Parent Hub. So it's all about tips and hints and tips and things that people can do to help make their home life a little bit better, and particularly with their children. We've also got a health and wellbeing hub anyway, but we put additional resources in there. So talking about stepping away from the office or your home situation, your home work setup, doing activities. So we launched an activity. So we've got a BCS activity app on Strava. So we were trying to challenge each other in terms of trying to keep people's activity levels up. And we're just about to launch a wellbeing challenge. So basically trying to do things every day that helps and promotes your health and wellbeing. We've also got a social club. Unfortunately, some of our social club members have been furloughed. So we basically had to work with the resources that we've got. So what the social club did was basically just every other week sending out a quiz. A very simple quiz that teams can get involved with and do. Just a little bit of fun and activity, just to kind of break up the monotony of the day. And that's gone down really well. And then, of course, with IT and technology. So again, as I said, not a lot of people were set up from home. So there was a lot of support that was required from our IT department to make sure that people were set up, their monitors were set up, and they could actively work from home and all the log-on details worked, etc. So there was a lot of virtual calls and phone calls to make sure that people had the equipment that they wanted. So that was quite epic in terms of our support for our staff. And I know full well from the sessions that we had with our staff and our managers with our learning partner, all of those guidance and tips and hints that we've given our staff have been well received. So we're clearly on the right track. In terms of achievements, so I thought it was really keen to put out our achievements. So we were recruiting a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, we were recruiting some people, we had some vacancies, and I know some departments and some organisations decided to delay people's start dates. We were of the opinion that actually we shouldn't be doing that, because people probably have given up and resigned from their old job, they're waiting, willing, eager to start their new job, and there is a gap between them not getting any income. So we didn't think that that was the right thing to do. Plus the fact we have the technology there to help that. So we have recruited and inducted over 6 people since March. So since lockdown, we are still continuing to recruit. And that's okay, it's not ideal. There was some person that was actually working and doing all our video calls on phone in between getting her equipment to her, but we made it work. And it's worked fantastically well. There are a lot of people are set up working from home or field, and that seems to work really well. With the furloughed staff, so I have weekly drop-ins with all the furloughed staff, so it's again voluntary, but from the people that I speak to, they are committed, they are engaged, they feel part of the team, they don't feel any different, they just actually feel guilty. They feel guilty that they're at home being paid 100% of their wages, because we decided to top up as well, being paid 100% of their wages whilst their colleagues are at work. So the furloughed staff are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. So we also provided learning and development resources for them as well. So things that they can do to keep their brain active. So, you know, because whilst you're on furlough, you can still train, you can still, you know, refresh yourself, you can look at opportunities, etc. So we're basically pointing them in the direction of, here, think about this, look about this learning and development module, etc. So they are committed and engaged. And as a result, then, you know, staff feel more engaged because they know that we're doing the best that we can with our furloughed staff and with our general population. They are being communicated with a huge amount, more probably than we ever would. And also our managers feel supported. So, you know, with the guidance that we're given, the support that we're providing them, they do feel that we're supporting them as much as we can, and they're truly appreciative of all the efforts that we're putting in. And of course, the final thing is we have successfully moved offices. So we know we handed the keys over on Friday. We have officially left the old building, and we are literally going through building works with the new building as we speak. So, you know, huge amounts of achievements really during that time. Conscious of time, so I am going to tick along quite quickly because, of course, I want to allow people time to have a chat and talk and share experiences. So in terms of what I have observed or what I've learned, people can change. It's that usually they need a reason. With our organisation, sometimes people are like, well, that can't work, it won't work, and it's like, well, actually, try it. And now we've said, you have to work from home. People have made it work. So it's surprising how much you can make things work when you've got a true reason to do it. So keep hold of that reason, because that's going to be your nugget for the future. I think what the pandemic achieved in 2 weeks, it would have taken us 2 years. And when I talked about that, it was about the culture of agile working. So we really wanted, when we moved to the new office, was an agile way of working. And what the pandemic has done is accelerated that quite substantially. So actually, if anything, the positive, that's provided a huge amount of change of mindset that actually you can work from home and it will work. And if you don't, then let's tweak it and make it work. Camaraderie, huge, goes a long way. I mean, I know the government keep on saying we're all in this together, but actually sometimes there's that comfort that, and I know it's being done to us, but actually we're all in it together. So it's not pointing fingers, it's not laying blame. It's happened and we're all in it together and we'll all get through it together. Some people, I know Dan mentioned about insights. So we do insights across the whole organisation. And what it has highlighted is that those people that are introverted by type are actually thriving really well. Those people that usually are extroverted by their type are struggling. So people that get their energies by speaking to other people, they're not getting that human interaction that they were used to. So they are really struggling with being sat at home, being isolated from their workforce and from their colleagues. So So you have to think about different people will react to the situation in different ways. I said people appreciate the little things. So there's things like, for example, our managing director took a whole load of letters, just little cards, and just wrote handwritten cards to every single employee in their department and said, thank you for working from home, thank you for trying your best, we really appreciate your effort. And it was handwritten, and it was heartfelt, and it was authentic, and it's gone down an absolute storm. So again, it wasn't very expensive, didn't cost the earth, but that sentiment really went down really well. There is also, in terms of innovation from a crisis, so embracing the opportunity that you've got. We're never going to have a situation like this before, but it does encourage us to think really differently about the way that we're operating, and potentially the way that we want to operate in the future. So have a think about how we can embrace that and use that opportunity to move forwards. I don't know if many of you heard of the Kubler-Ross change curve. It's sometimes called the grief cycle, but it's basically the way that people react during change. And it starts off with shock, anger, denial, then it goes kind of down in a trajectory, and then it gets up to acceptance. Now, I've seen this operate in its truest form, when it comes to, oh my God, we've got to work from home. How is that going to work? No, we can't work from home. Or it's not going to work. And then we got through to, okay, you know what, that's okay. We can make that work. And then it's a case of, well, we've made it work, and now we're really bored. And now we really want to go back to work. And when can we go back to work? And it's like, well, not yet. And now we're kind of getting up to the acceptance to say, well, we don't have a building to go back to, but when we are safe, we will go back. But also, what will that new world look like? So you kind of see that Kubler-Ross change curve actually in action, and it's fascinating to see. And the other thing I would say is in terms of adapting your style at different points. So during that Kubler-Ross change curve, there are some people that are in shock and anger and denial, and you need to be able to tailor your communication to understand what your employees feel at any given point in time. So it may not be telling them it's going to be wonderful when they're not in a great place. They don't want to hear that, because that's not going to go down very well. Actually, what you want to say is, I understand the way that you're feeling, and we will get through this. So it's that re-encouragement and support. Company values also are really important during this time. So a lot of our values we rely on when we're making decisions, and they influence our actions. So one of our values is doing the right thing. And so the right thing by our people was to pay 100%. And that's what we decided to do as a business. And we know that that's usually uncommon for most businesses, but we felt that that was the right thing to do. And as a result, I think our engagement with our staff has paid that back tenfold. So returning to the office, so clearly different for us because we don't have an office to go back to. But yeah, I think it's important with comms and engagement that you need to understand that people will be nervous and anxious about coming back to the office. So you have to think about how you can minimise risk, but also reassure people. So the guidance still is if you can still work from home, then remain at home, and only people need to go into the office. So we are actually looking at who needs to go into the office, why, do they really need to go into the office, and what they're going to do. So literally go in, get your stuff done, get out really quickly, because this is about minimising the number of people in an enclosed space at any given point in time. Then you've also got to think about basic things like one-way systems, blocking off toilets, one in, one out, having hand sanitizers everywhere, deep cleaning, etc., etc. So all of this is about trying to reassure your staff and minimise risk. I've seen there's a few people that organisations, what they've actually done is they've actually done a PowerPoint presentation and explained when they go back to the office, they're going to see some changes. This is what it looks like. And even people with videos that go around the office to explain the one-way system, and signs up for when people do turn up that, you know, this is what we expect you to do. When you turn up, you wash your hands, one person in a lift at a time, one person in the toilet at a time, just so that you know what to expect when you go back into the office. And of course, you know, use any risk assessments and guidelines that you've got available to you. So there's loads of them online. I'm sure the government have gone them. I don't know about you, but I'm being sent 101 emails by different companies about webinars and risk assessments and guidance, and come and join this workshop. So there's loads of advice and guidance out there that you can use, but pick your sources carefully, I would say. Otherwise you get completely overwhelmed and inundated. Go with a trusted source that you use, that you know. that you're comfortable in. Don't try and use all the resources out there. Ultimately, they all tend to say the same thing. So don't wind yourself up thinking that you have to read every single piece of evidence and an article out there, because otherwise that's all you'll be doing all day long and you won't get any work done. So that's not going to work for you. Key points, very quick key points, and probably reinforcing what I've already said really. People aren't working from home. They are just working from a different location during a pandemic, and that is totally different. So output and performance will fluctuate. I would say accept this, and if you can, remove any blockers. You know, with our system, our HR systems on the server, it's really slow. We can't access the information that we want to. So what I've decided to do is download some pertinent key information about our staff and put it on our shared drive so that they don't have to go into the system to see key things, and it makes their work much better. So again, if there's simple things you have to do about what is called new pain in your work and how can we resolve that. I've never heard a person say, oh, they communicate too much. People, no, you can never ever over communicate. If you fail to communicate, people will fill the void with something else, and that may not be the truth. So why not get on the front foot and say what the message that you want to say to your staff. Give opportunity to feedback and encourage and engagement at any point. So we had emails, we had we put things on our intranet for comments. We seek feedback during most of our sessions and webinars and things. So we seek feedback from different people using different sources at regular points, just to make sure and check in to make sure people are feeling okay. Embrace technology, all technology in all of its glory. As I said, every day is a school day. I'm learning every day about how I can use technology in a different way. So use it for your benefit. Sometimes it can be a bit temperamental with the broadband width, but go with it, and it's probably here to stay, so why don't you make it your friend rather than your enemy. Be kind. There's lots of things going on about mental health and well-being, particularly because Mental Health Awareness Week was a couple of weeks ago, but understand that people have got their different challenges. You're not going to see their challenges at home, and very rarely are you going to actually pick that up. You normally would pick that up in the office. You'd know if someone was having an off day. You can't really pick that up virtually. It's really difficult. So understand that people will have their own personal challenges, and be flexible. So, you know, I've got quite a lot of team members who have children at home. I've had to be so flexible when it comes to their working hours. Ultimately for me, I don't really care when they do their work, as long as the output, there is an output of some description and they're doing the best that they can. And that's, for me as a manager, that's the best I can hope for. But the more you give now, the more flexibility that you can provide, the more that they will appreciate moving forward. I've seen some organisations that have basically said, right, we will be at your desk at 9 o'clock without fail, and we can monitor your emails, and we can monitor this, and we can monitor that. Well, that's just given a huge amount of distrust to your people. So they're literally going to work to rule. They're going to know that they're not going to be trusted to do their job, and they're going to be completely switched off. So that's actually going to have the opposite effect. What you do need to say is, we give some flexibility, do whatever's necessary to get your work done, and we understand that you can't give 100% all of the time. Well, you never did that in the office, so you're certainly not going to do that at home, so don't expect that. Try not to go back to the old ways. So you've learnt a huge amount whilst working from home. Create a new world that works for you. Try not to go back to the old habits, the face-to-face meetings. If it can be done virtually, then so be it. But try to avoid travel. You know, try to link in with the government guidelines. Try to think of new ways and creative ways of working. Try to provide regular feedback and encouragement to team members. Normally you say thank you, tar, cheers, whatever, on a regular basis. Well, you're not doing that apart from a very short space of time when you'll get your team members in front of you, in front of a screen. So you make sure that you regularly feedback and praise your staff. I recommend always daily team catch-ups, just to make sure where people are, and at least weekly one-to-ones with your team members, making sure, because again, you're not going to pick up on the nuances if they're having a bad day. I've had quite a few tears and upsets, shall we say, from my team members, and one team member was having a particularly bad time and just cried all day, And at that point, I decided to go and see her with a care package. So that involved, unfortunately, wine and chocolate and everything else. But it's about trying to be human, saying, look, I know you're having a bad day. I can't really relieve your child's situation, but I can do something to buy you some flowers and some chocolates to make you feel a bit better. And that worked, that went down. Didn't cost a huge amount of money, but it worked. Try to bring non-work related activities, bring the fun, I say. So we started having daily catch-ups. It quickly became apparent after week 2. It was the same old same. How much more do you say? Well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that every single day. It didn't work for us. So now I flipped it to say, what are your peaks and what are your lows? So every single day, someone had to say a peak and a low. And it didn't have to be work. It had to be like, so-and-so rode a scooter for the first time, or so-and-so managed to be on their bike and ride a bike. It's bringing the celebrating the success. And at the end of every week, I sent out our team highs just to try and reinvigorate. And the other thing that again, after kind of a couple of weeks, that didn't work. So I then did something different. So every other day now, we're doing a quiz. We're doing a team quiz, and things like catchphrase to dingbats to whatever it is, half an hour every morning, every other morning. We're just doing non-work related activities just to bring a bit of fun and a bit of office banter back to the office. Don't be afraid to change your communication methods. If it doesn't work, then don't carry on doing it. Like I said with the video, we use videos regularly, then we notice a drop off. Well, then we change, not doing as many regular videos. So again, don't worry about changing and adapting your communications method. And if the video didn't work, try an email. If the email didn't work, try something else. Again, there's no one way that it works for people. So just try different methods, and one way or another, it will work for you. And also kind of use your company values to aid decision making, because obviously if you're turning around and saying, for example, if one of your values is putting your people first, and the first thing you do is put people at risk of redundancy, that kind of contradicts your company values. Like for example, if you're saying being human, but then you don't appreciate that people have got different struggles. So you have to be really authentic to your company values and make sure that you're living them as well, because people can spot when you're not. And then people also then question about, well, how is that fitting in with it, and how do I then fit in with that company culture? So I rattled on a huge amount. All I've done is talk. So I appreciate that. That's it from me, from my perspective, in terms of kind of sharing the benefit of my limited experience during the last 12 weeks and how kind of BCS and myself have kind of coped with the change. Over to you, Dan.
I think you've done a cracking job, Hern, honestly. I mean, just to see, that's to manage to put all of that into 12 slides as well is fantastic, because I don't think I really would struggle, I think, to find stuff to put into 1 or 2 slides personally. But that is fantastic to see that you've done all of that stuff. So congratulations to you, because I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
So what about everybody else? Has anyone got any kind of questions for Lou? She's happy to answer anything. Or if you want to share something that your organisation's done that you think has been, really beneficial with the group, please do, let us know and share that with the group, because that would be great.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that you're doing is great, Lou. It's everything that we've been doing and that kind of communication. I love the idea about the manager. So my managing director did a positive postcard for everyone. So literally he hand wrote those and we sent those out. So, the old fashioned way of sending a postcard again to people was great. And then kind of embracing the fact that, you have unfortunately got children and things at home. We've done like some family bingo. So actually, a bit of that homeschooling and getting the kids involved, because it's all the numbers and things as well, but not that pressure of, trying to shove the children out the room as you've got a video call and things, but trying to embrace that a bit as well. We've had a company update meeting this morning, so we've been doing those monthly. So that was like a 2-hour session, which included the people that were working as well as being on furlough. So it's just that engagement piece, and like you say, communication's key to that. So no, thank you and well done.
Yeah, definitely. I think the challenging part as well is a lot of companies have got mixed people on furlough and people that are working, and I think you're absolutely right. I think you do sit there, like, for example, at the moment in our organisation, my old the old hotel that I worked at, and I get on with it really well, have launched a 40-page standard operating procedure about what they're doing to enable meetings and events and accommodation safely. And I'm sat here thinking, get me out of this. I know I want to work on this. Like, this is exactly what I should be doing at the moment, but it's not the right time, and it's really difficult because I see all of that going on. I think, oh, I really want to do that, and you can't, and you've got to kind of sit there and just, you know, take a step back and look at what you can do and just re-energize, I guess. So, but yeah, it's has anyone else got anything they'd like to share about what they've been doing?
Yeah, I'd like to ask some opinions, please. So, I work for SCC, which is an IT technology company. We've got 2,000 UK staff at 33 locations. So we're going through a process at the moment of trying to make those locations COVID-19 friendly. We're like you, Lou. I think it's really positive what you've done, because we've always had a system of no working from home. As you say, it was always a privilege and stuff. And it's great that we've actually proved now that actually with people still working from home, which has been great. But I think we're going to face some challenges on bringing staff back to the office. So we're thinking about doing a staff survey to try and gather people's thoughts and feelings. But I think there's going to be lots of reluctance of people and a fear to go back to an office location. What is everybody's thoughts on that? How are your businesses dealing with that?
At PwC, Faye, we've already done that survey piece.
Yeah.
Really looking at people's well-being. I think that's at the top of the list, because as we know, there's a lot of people do struggle working from home.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable for everybody. So they've really looked at people's well-being, who really needs to go back into the office environment. But while we've been away as well, they've also been thinking about how we could work differently in those offices.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a brand new building in Birmingham, and you know, you've got one way in to go to the lifts, and we're going to limit how many people can go into the lift, and certain one-way systems. It's all about thinking how they can actually be safe in the workplace.
Yeah.
We've also been
supporting start times and things like that, and bring certain teams in and back-to-back seating, and I think we're only going to work to about 25% capacity in the offices anyway. But
we're going with 15% of staff at the moment, and our office is actually starting to open from next Monday for those staff. It's a little bit of trial and error, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think as long as we're all doing what we're doing at the moment, which is staying connected, advising people not to feel guilty. It's really different, isn't it? It's not in our norm. We've got lots of video calls at the moment with dogs and cats appearing and children in the background, and we're just accepting that that's how it's got to be at the moment, and being really relaxed about it. I think it's been quite nice that we've sort of broken down some of those barriers.
Yeah, I agree with.
Yeah, so I think whatever you do, and there's lots of great advice that's just being shared in these slides, it's the fact that you're thinking about it and taking those steps, and you can just keep talking to your staff. So whatever you're doing will be great, Faye.
Yeah, I mean, just that ongoing. Sorry, Lou.
I was just going to say, it's probably working with the managers. So one of the things that we're working on is speaking to the managers, finding out who needs access. Then it's really challenging to look at, challenging them to say, well, do we actually need all the part-timers, or can half the part-timers work at home and then half work in the office, and then maybe do a swap, because you have to think about every time, and then designated desks rather than any desk-ins. And so those sorts of things we're thinking about, but also in terms of trying to reassure people, it's actually understanding how they do their job. So for example, we've got a team that does a lot of the photocopying. So it's actually, okay, so how can we make a photocopier COVID secure? How do you navigate around the building? You know, so it's almost like following your employees. And so maybe a survey might work. It might be actually, what do you need to do your job? and kind of follow them around the building to understand what their anxieties are. So one of the biggest things is what is your anxiety and what can we do? Also is going to be a bit of a struggle between, because that's from a HR perspective, it's really difficult, because you identify what the anxieties are, you'd put measures in place, and if they are still reluctant to do that, then there's a difficult conversation.
I completely agree. I like the idea of doing the video, actually, of this is what your experience is going to be coming back. I mean, we've got one office location in Birmingham that actually houses nearly 1,000 staff. So I think that's everybody's biggest fear of, you know, how is all that going to work? You know, we've got a call centre base there and stuff like that. So I really like that idea of a video of a day in the life of a staff member and how it's going to be coming back into that environment. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, and you might want to do that beforehand. So, for example, because if you ask for the what their anxieties are or their reservations, it might be that video will allow a lot of, you know, a lot of fears. And so then what you're then doing is the exceptional ones on top of that. It's like, okay, if you have any more anxieties on top of that, how can we address them? And probably those anxieties will be limited, and then you can just start addressing them on
the individual basis. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. It's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, did you say that you've done a video recently? I'm just looking at the chat box at the moment.
So when you've actually done, when, you know, people are starting to work with your health and safety team about getting back actually into the workplace, and you've done your COVID-19 risk assessment, one of the key points that the health and safety executive are covering is that you need to do a toolbox tool and a briefing on your health and safety and actually getting back into the office. So it's all well and good doing a Zoom call, and you're sat there reading out all your criteria, and they're all nodding away that they understand. But then actually we did a video, a walk around the office, so actually they can see that we've marked out desk areas. They can see that we're only having one person in the toilet or in the kitchen areas, and it's that visual enhancement, like with any of us when we're interacting.
Really good idea.
And then I think, Faye, just talking about the survey, because I think I had to do the survey as well, and I was thinking, oh gosh, you know, what are all these key questions? Where am I going to miss something? And SurveyMonkey have actually got a number of templates that you can then edit and manipulate to be more specific for your actual workplace. But it's covering off like your mental health, your well-being, actually looking about the clinical NHS and the shielding, or people that have actually been advised to stay at home, and it covers all of that. So I'd have a look at that for some of this survey questions.
Do that, thank you.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, everybody. And thanks, Mel's put some great feedback in as well. So thank you, Mel. Has anybody else got any questions at all, or anything they want to ask? Karen, I know you put a question this morning actually in the PA forum group, didn't you, about an activity, wasn't it? Can you hear me? Is she there?
I can't hear you, Karen.
Can't hear you. Oh, I think Karen basically, I think.
Is that better?
That's it, got you.
Yeah, I'm just looking for some fun virtual activities to do with the teams. We've done nothing since we've been in lockdown. And I think just over the last couple of weeks, when we do our team meetings every Tuesday, you can just sort of feel the atmosphere is just not the same. And I think it's, to start with, the Zoom calls or the Teams meetings, they were such a great feature to use, and you got to see everybody, but now they're sort of just taking the toll now, and it's just like team meeting, it's just purely teamwork speak and everything like that, and we've done actually nothing sort of on a social side of things. And usually every quarter we would all sort of get together in the office in Birmingham and have like an all hands sort of team meeting, and then go out for sort of food and drink and things like that. And it probably would be around about this time of year that we would have like the summer kind of meeting. So yeah, just trying to obviously look for some fun activities to do with the team and try and just get their spirits up a bit.
I mean, we've used
one thing.
Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say one thing that I've seen recently in some of the team huddles is that they've been sort of voting on doing different activities in each week. So silly things like paint the animal is one of the things that they're looking to do. So you've actually got to use your artistic talents on paint or notepad and make it as close to the animal as you can. so silly little things like that, just to break up making it non-work. So anything like that I can highly recommend as a bit of fun.
Yeah, we use things like so there's a chocolate bar challenge. So where literally there's a it's on the internet. Basically, people cut chocolate bars in half, and you can see that the inside of a chocolate bar, and it spot the chocolate bar. So we did that once. We've done dingbats, we've done that. We're doing a catchphrase, and we actually just get our team members. So we've even got some of our furloughed staff creating quizzes. So you know, for example, there's some, like, for example, get to know your team member well. So you send out a quiz, maybe 10 questions about, you know, what's your favorite color, or what's your favorite memory, or just general stuff, and you have to then send that all into one person. You can then collate it, and you have to guess who the person is. It also helps them build a relationship with team members as well. But we do one now where it's like a picture quiz. So it's a 1980s or a 1990s music quiz, and it's basically one picture, like a Where's Wally picture, with various things, and you've got to spot what the music title is. So we all do that. So we share the screen, and we all just shout in what the answer is. So that's worked really well as well.
Yeah, we did that. We had to, I was saying to Karen this morning, we had to get a wooden spoon and we had to decorate it as one of the team members. And they had to guess who the team member was. And then we shared a screen where everybody sent in a baby photo of themselves to one person. They shared the screen, and you had to shout out who it was, who you think in the team it was. That worked quite well. And just little tasks where it's nice where if you set a task at the one team meeting, so when you have the team meeting again, they've got time to do it, but they have to showcase it at the next one, because it gives them stuff to do throughout the week as well. And people can get really creative. Those people that want to go and, you know, order stuff off Amazon because they really want to show off what they've done will do it. Those people like me will do it at 12:30 at night the night before. Yeah.
We've done other things such as so I think some people have done through the keyhole, so people taking pictures of their house and people guessing, like 3 pictures of different rooms of the house, people have to guess who it is. The other things I do, this is not a work related one, this is a personal one. I've got friends that we have Zoom meetings with, and every single week we have a theme. So one theme was at the spa, so we all had like our hair in little turbans and our dressing gowns on with face packs on. One time we have a day at the beach, so we all had kind of our bikinis on and our cover up. One time was we had to kind of paint our face, so we had things like moustaches and things like that. Other people have they were supposed to go to Glastonbury, so they're wearing their Glastonbury hats, people wearing hats. I've seen people turn up for calls when they've missed being bridesmaid for weddings in their bridesmaid's dress. So, I mean, there's things that you can do to be really inventive at home. So people wearing wigs. So maybe you have one day that you decide to be silly and dress up and wear a hat or something, with some headgear. We had one. So
yeah,
things you can do.
I also think as well, some people, I've found that some people, like some companies will give a little bit of money for stuff like this. Do you know what I mean? As well, I know it's a difficult time, but staff motivation is so important. Those managers that can put through expenses can order stuff. Do you know what I mean? Little, like, they might be able to order little bits and pieces just to try and keep staff morale high. And you know, I don't know because I'm not working, but I would imagine I've had some people that have said, oh, I'm not sure. And then they've gone to ask their manager and said, well, actually, yeah, can I give you a little bit of money to do something? And as well, I think that's really helped give some confidence to that as well.
I mean, so all of my team members are pretty much on a birthday. So I literally sent out a birthday hat. So every time we do a Zoom call when it's the birthdays, we have a birthday hat on the pipe blower. So, it's silly things like that. Again, it doesn't cost a lot of money, but it just shows that you're really thinking about them.
No, that's awesome. And do you know what? I'm really, like I said, I think you can all see bundle of yellow energy, Louise. Really grateful for you coming on. It's been really nice to be able to talk. And thank you so much for your all inputting some ideas as well. I'm really grateful. Just to let you know, we've got, so coming up next, on Wednesday next week is how to be a standout virtual assistant. And on Thursday, we're doing a travel edition. So it's being safe in business travel, leisure travel, and hotel bookings going forward. So if you want to join that, please do. We've also just launched the PA Forum Mentor and Mentee initiative today, which is on our website, which is fantastic. And some of you are online today, so thank you. Do have a look at that, and if you've got any questions, let me know. Once again, massive thank you to Lou. Really grateful for your time. Thank you so much.
Well done, Lou.
Thank you all for your time today. Have a fantastic time. Have a great weekend and hope to see you all next week.